All right. Well, hey, Mark and Jeannie, thanks again for taking some time to meet with me again. I know a lot of insurance agencies are talking about digital transformation and they're wondering, should we dive deeper into digital transformation? Should I, expect that things go back to normal? So we kind of went through that as, an agency, quite a few years ago. And so I thought, we could share our experiences. And also, Jeannie, you've been involved with a lot of, top level of a lot of agency associations. So I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on digital transformation for these agencies. So, why don't we kind of start first of Jeannie, why don't you kind of give us an idea of kind of what you're seeing with a lot of agencies and where they are and kind of some of the struggles they're dealing with this topic.
Absolutely. I think that's when I am surprised sometimes. There are a lot of agencies that out there that did have some preparations in place, but I think we do have a larger share that they don't really have protocols in place to really get them to where they need to be. And what I'm talking about with that is basically the digital signature options, being able to transact business electronically, that they might have some tools, but they didn't utilize it on a regular basis. The other thing that you're looking at too is when you're going to do something like that, if your clients haven't agreed to it, some don't have protocols in place that customers have acknowledged they're willing to do business that way. So it's kind of unfortunately, a culmination of some issues that if you can tighten it up now, it'll make things better as things progress, because this is not going to go back to the way it used to be. I see a lot of people too that, with being able to conduct business, not ever utilizing Zoom for having the meetings just like we are right now. We're having multiple people on that you can share the experience of what's the day going to look like, how are your sales going to work, what's your internal staff going to do, and how are we going to connect everybody together for better communication on how we're going to share this with our customers then. So a lot of those tools need to be fine-tuned and worked on and being put in place into agencies. And they're kind of struggling with it. And our associations have helped and put together tools to guide them towards a lot of this.
Yeah, and I think you're absolutely right. I see a lot of insurance agencies and a lot of businesses in general kind of bootstrapping it right now, trying to get things figured out. But like now's the time to figure it out because, in a few months or a couple months when it's kind of the norm, there's not going to be, I don't think, quite the acceptance of, hey, we're just figuring it out like everybody else. People are going to be expected to, when they talk to an agent for, things to be kind of ironed out. Mark, I know we've talked about this, quite a few times over the years, but would you mind sharing a little bit of our experience as an agency? We had to shift into digital in '08 because of the recession. So I know there's some similarities, but would you mind just sharing a little bit about, our experience with that shift, kind of what caused that shift and kind of how we took our first steps forward into the digital transformation?
Well, we've talked about that before. Is again, we were looking at economic pressures, not quite as bad as what is going on right now, but back
Right.
then it was the worst economy we had ever witnessed. And we decided, for very different reasons, we decided to reach out to a different way of reaching the audience out of necessity, because we were in an economically depressed economy, and especially regionally, we were super depressed. So we opted to go into that. But I think things are similar, but also drastically different now. I think right now it's one of those things that uh, we're dealing with a beast that people don't understand, but it also is opening up some different avenues and ideas. This past week, pretty widely publicized that Nationwide, one of the biggest players in the insurance industry, is after that we come out of the other side of this, is going to have their like two main offices, and everything else is going to close down to remote work. Uh, for a monster like that, one of the industry leaders to make that move is huge. And it's not just looking at, first of all, I don't know how long this is going to last, uh, but even if it's something, turns in the next couple of months, it's still going to take a while before our employees are comfortable with people coming into the office. And it's also going to become a while before customers are comfortable coming into offices. And so we're retraining them to do business. Everybody's, they're ordering their food online. They're going to the doctors online. They're going to the bank online. Everything is moving in that direction. In addition, if you make these digital changes, it's not just COVID that will be an effect that will have caused you to do this, but just think about the things that happen, like tornadoes and hurricanes and snowstorms, and just a thing where your office loses its internet and so your staff is down, or your staff loses electricity or loses the phones for an afternoon. This new level of having a platform on the way you run your operations distributes that workload that you're never down. And people, I think, have done it with duct tape in an emergency fashion, but this is the new norm. And the other thing is when you look at the pressures, just imagine if you're a business owner, if you don't have the expense of an office that nobody wants to come into, what can those funds be used to do?
Right. Yeah, and that's a good point. And it's funny, I think I've said this before. For us, granted, we can't go out and speak and do some of the things we're doing, but as far as day-to-day operations for us, because we were mostly digital anyways, things didn't change that much, because we were still working and doing video calls and what we were doing before. Now I know a lot of agencies have taken that first step and they're doing video calls and video conferencing. I've seen some that, they're just like, call us or email us. They're not doing video. But for those who have, done video or not, like what's the first step of getting into this? Because there's a lot of people trying to sell them different digital tools and digital websites and digital platforms, and it's all this stuff. So, for agencies who are like, I would love to go more digital, but don't even know where to start. Where's kind of a leading place for them to start?
Well, I would just kind of say at this point too, one place that's great to help you with this is you can benchmark with your associations a lot of the tools that they've vetted sometimes, which is good. But depending on the size of your agency, there are budget constraints, and you want to find the best value and the best quality. But that's also one, too. You need to inventory where your staff are if they're working remotely, and make sure that you create a standard for what that bandwidth's going to be, because nothing's worse than everybody has had this happen where you're on a call and all of a sudden the video freezes or the call drops. People can't hear what you're saying. So you need to really utilize the tools, get it in place that everybody has a level of bandwidth to have. Video quality is good. The vocal, the speech, everything, before you start rolling it out massively, get some people to test at all these locations. Make sure you get good quality with it. I think once you've got that set with your product, make sure that it works at a desktop level. And it's also something, too, making sure it's mobile, because you may be wanting to do business at the office or remotely from home on your desktop, but all the people you're trying to meet, they might not be necessarily at home on a desktop. They might be mobile on their phone. So make sure that whatever you're going to do is going to work in an area that that most of your customers are going to be at, which is not on a desktop or a supercomputer at the office. They're trying to find and safe areas, distance learning. All those things are going to be done mobile. So make sure you got a good transition for some of those things with it. I think once you get that down, that will really make it easy then, and a great communication tool to share with all your workers then on what you want them to do and how you want that handled moving forward then.
I think
that makes sense.
I think a lot of the things that you've got to look at is it is all around your communications hub. So things like voice over internet protocol, and that allows you to work, remotely, even if you have an office. If you're a sales rep and you're out in the field, or you're at your daughter's basketball game, receiving your phone call, being available to the client whenever. So voice over internet, and then also the digital meetings stuff like we're using right now. Join Me, WebEx, Cisco's WebEx, Zoom. And we've got a product that has the video meeting built right into your blog email software. we've got kind of a centralized solution that we offer. But having the ability to meet with people the way that they're used to being met with, I've been using video meetings for a number of years, going back to when I was a sales rep, when I was selling insurance, and when I've been teaching, I've been using video meetings for years. And a lot of people are reluctant to do it. Well, now we're forced into doing it. And so getting the comfort level, and just like today, this is how we meet now. We used to sit around a table with each other, but it's still just an enjoyable experience just to see your lovely faces. It really is. It's not a hug or a handshake, but we're not allowed to hug or handshake anyways. So this is really as intimate of a setting as one needs at this point, and having the right tool. And like I said, integrating your tools as much as possible. I would suggest don't look at something for email and look at something for blog and look at something for, video meetings. Is try to something that, you can analyze what kind of visitors you're getting, look at the emails, schedule your social media, do it all from one centralized system. And that's what I think where we come in, and we've got the strength is we have almost a dozen years experience in basically strategizing and implementing and carrying through these types of programs.
Yeah. I think the one thing I always like, just to kind of dovetail off of what Mark said in there, and the one thing that's always been a challenge is the person that calls to discuss whatever the need may be, if it's insurance or if it's changing things or if it's working on a personal homeowner auto or business, it's a recorded call. It's so much easier that when you're discussing points, it's good for the agency as far as your errors and omissions. You're doing your due diligence where you've documented what you've offered, some of the key points you talked about. And it's also good for the customer too, that they can, if they want to share it with a business partner, if they want to talk with other family members, it's easier to show the video. It's clear, it's succinct, and there's no misconstruing the facts that were discussed with it. So that's a great opportunity that you've got a great digital footprint and a record that keeps you on track with your E&O too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And it's kind of insightful what you guys were saying, because both of you are like, well, for your clients, and then, well, for your staff. And I think it's important, as you're looking at, tools or first steps to say, how does it affect our clients? How does it affect our staff? Because there's a lot of shiny objects out there. And if you don't really have a plan or, something to do with it, you got to make sure that it's in line with what your clients actually need. Is it helping your clients reach you and communicate with you? And is it helping your salespeople, your customer service people do their job, and not just one more thing to put on your plate? So, that being said, I guess kind of the big question I wanted to ask you, I think a lot of people are considering, is should agencies kind of go full throttle into a digital only agency? Should they reopen their doors after, COVID's over, or should they just keep everything digital and just,
I think that some people are going to be required to have some sort of brick and mortar existence. Right now, we still have companies that require, even the companies that run the insurance scoring reports, some of them require a physical address in order for you to have a license to be able to do insurance inspection type reports. So, but I think that you can look at diminishing your bricks and mortars, giving the people the flexibility to work from home, being more, as we've said in many of the different discussions we've had over the years, Zach, is however the client wants to secure a relationship with you, you're going to have that. But I think you can do it smarter and be more proactive as opposed to being reactive by having the digital tool. And you said, should we jump headfirst into digital? I think that you should swim cautiously into digital, because we've had personal experience with clients that we've worked with that are gung-ho, and they jump in without a swimming lesson. They jump off the high dive and they end up floundering. So it's just like baby steps. Let's crawl. Let's hold on to some furniture. Let's start walking, and then we can jog, and then we can run.
I agree with that, Mark, 100%. And I think what really has to happen in any situation like this is, again, that communication of rolling it out. You may talk about this internally, but sometimes people forget to tell the customers what's the experience that they're going to have when they come to your front door. And I say that literally, come to your front door. What is that going to mean going forward? What can they expect when they get to your physical location? But also turning that experience into whatever happens in your office should be the same thing that almost happens online, that there's an expectation of your online presence should mirror what that experience you want. Somebody bricks and mortar, and what they're going to get if they come online and do it. One should not be less than the other with it. And I think that's when people forget that part of it.
That's right. So last thing I wanted to ask, because it's always like this in every industry, what's the speed that insurance agencies should be moving to adapt? Is this something that agencies should look at right now and say, okay, this is something we need to start putting in place right this second and figuring it out now? Or is it something that kind of, well, over the next few months, we'll figure it out. In 2021, we'll roll out our digital transformation?
If you want to roll it out for 2021, you need to be working on it right now.
I'm also thinking that there are a lot of agencies that do have some partially implemented tools that do meet the needs. But I think, again, that tightening those things up, making sure that everybody is utilizing that process then. You don't want to have half the agency doing it old school and then the other half are using the new modern process that we're giving, because, again, you're not giving your full customer base the same experience that one is getting in comparison to the other. So, again, I think consistency with it, good, clear communication and rolling it out. Market indicated also, integrate this in a process that isn't one where all of a sudden, you're going to have problems where your switchboard is totally down, calls can't come in. That creates confusion and a mixed message then.
You know what? Let's throw it out there. We've done it at the end of all of our videos. Is we've been through this. Give Zach or Jeannie or I 20 minutes of your time, and let's see what you're trying to accomplish and see if there's anything we can do. We got to where we were by the help of other people. Yeah.
I sat down. I talked with a lot of people that was first couple of years just trying to figure things out. So I'll throw up a slide with all of our contact information and put it up there. If people want to shoot us an email, or obviously our website, inbusgroup.com, you guys can always reach out and contact us. I feel like this is a conversation too that it's great. I think a lot of people are starting the conversations and talking about it, but for each agency specifically, it's going to look a little different. So I think it helps at some point. You can keep watching videos and things like that, but at some point it's going to be best to just sit and talk with somebody to figure things out.
I agree.
Yeah.
So thank you, Mark and Jeannie. I know you guys have families and grandkids and things you got to take care of, and plus some work to do. So I'll let you go. Thanks again for taking the time that we could do this. And I'll talk to you later. Have a great weekend.
Good to see everybody.
Let's see you guys.
Bye.